75% of young people worry about the future, and for good reason, with inflation, geopolitical tensions, and technological change at an all-time high. But we all know excessive worry does more harm than good. And so today I'm going to give you 3 tips that brought me from someone who was worried about making it in the future to someone that just loves life today. And I can tell you now, as someone looking backwards, that all you really need to do is set up your mind and life in the right way if you want to stop worrying and actually live your life happily. And with the world changing so quickly, it's even more important that you live a life that empowers you. So in this video, you'll learn firsthand what I had to go through before I stopped worrying about life in the future and actually instead got to focus on the stuff that mattered in my life. Okay, so before I tell you about the 3 tips that helped me stop worrying and all that, I want to tell you how bad it can actually get. Like how worry can actually ruin the decisions and possibly your life, and how it almost did ruin my own life for me. And so I remember graduating university in my early 20s, and I had grown up in a really happy family, and I had this desire to give back to my parents. And so I decided to go monk mode and fly halfway across the world to work for way too little money in a school in China. But in exchange, I got 3-4 months of vacation a year, and I would use those 3-4 months to try to build this business. This was 2016, so I was trying to start a blog, which ultimately didn't work out. I tried a bunch of different business models. I took a bunch of courses, and I paid anywhere from a few $100s to like $16,000 for a coaching program that, now thinking back, was a total scam. And I tried to make money with stocks, and I lost money there. And all of those behaviors were the result of me excessively worrying about creating a future where I was financially free. And it's kind of ironic because in trying to create a future that has financial freedom, I ended up throwing away tens of thousands of dollars. I essentially made no money in my first 2 years, even though I was working essentially full-time for 9 months every single year. And that's just not something I want for anyone to experience. And this is why I'm making this video right now. I don't want you to waste tens of thousands of dollars on some guru or a bunch of courses or a bunch of different models before you look back in your life and you're like, what in the world was I thinking? I want you to make the right decision today. And the first thing that you have to do if you want to stop worrying about the future is something that's very obvious. Comparing with other people and being jealous and envious of other people who've achieved more than you, perhaps even in a shorter amount of time, coming from more humbling circumstances, that comparison, that envy is poison. It's poisonous to your ability to make decisions, good decisions that actually help you in the long run. And there wasn't really a specific moment when I had this epiphany. I kind of realized it over time because I saw it again and again and again in my students who constantly were comparing themselves with each other and were being compared with each other by adults that were around them, that I started looking at some of the behaviors and mindsets of the students that cared way too much about where other people were at. And I realized that those students were often the most helpless students. Those students were often the students that dealt with mental health issues, that went into depression, because there's such a difference between where they are at and where they want to be. And to see someone within such close proximity to you reach the goal that you want to reach while you're constantly failing, and for you to care about that does a number on you. Like that hurts. You know what I mean? And it hurt for me. Like it hurt for me to see that there were people younger than me that didn't feel as capable as I was, that were succeeding massively in business. And I just didn't get it. I knew I was smart enough, and if you're watching this video, you're definitely smart enough, and you definitely have a drive to do well, and I had that as well, but it just wasn't happening. And the more I compared, the more powerless I felt and the more worry I had in my heart. And so I just stopped. I just stopped caring. I would look at people's success and replace worry with excitement, with being happy for them. Like now when I see an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old start a successful business, I'm like super stoked. Like I have something to learn from that person. Like that's the mentality that I have right now. Instead of being envious and jealous and be like, why do they get it? Like how in the world do they deserve all of that money and benefits? Now I'm like, they did a good job. The market rewarded them. I probably have something to learn from them. And if I learn the right thing from them, I can probably do the same thing. And a lot of the times you realize that learning something from them isn't necessarily taking their course. It's literally just watching what they do and then you going through the same gauntlet that they went through in order to find success. Like maybe no matter how many courses you end up taking, you have to fail a certain number of times before you're comfortable with failure, that you continue trying and then something eventually works out. Like maybe that's a part of the process and a part of the journey. And maybe that's what makes the goal worth it. Like if it was so easy, everyone would be doing it and it would be a commodity. But because it's not easy, a lot of people give up along the way. And at the end of the day, those that stick to the end are those that make it. And because so little people make it, that's what makes the goal worthwhile. And so instead of just looking at other people's success and feeling inadequate, I saw their success and I went to work. But sometimes when you go to work, like for example, if you're trying to become a dropshipper or like you're trying to start some kind of agency or you're trying to be like a coach, sometimes the biggest kind of worry is the kind of worry you get by faking it. I also had a phase in my life when I tried to start a social media marketing agency. And I remember nothing worked for me at that time. Now thinking back, it wasn't that nothing worked, it's just that I didn't do the work properly. And to give you some context, I was still teaching in China in that time, and it's probably around 2017, 2018 when I tried to start this social media marketing agency for restaurants, because I was like, okay, I like food, I can probably do marketing for restaurants, which in general is not a very good idea because local restaurants actually run very thin margins and they don't actually have that much money for marketing. But to give you an idea on what I was doing, I was essentially calling the restaurant, asking for the owner and being like, are you interested in social media marketing? And I was doing this from China, and so I was calling long distance at like 3 a.m. at night. And so I did that every day for like months because I had a list of numbers that I bought from a data mining platform. And so that obviously didn't work out very well because every time I made the call, I felt like a scammer. You know, like when somebody calls you from abroad and they're like, are you interested in this exciting new opportunity to get some money? That was the person what I felt like. I felt like I was scamming. I felt like I was faking it because deep down I knew that I actually didn't really know anything about marketing for restaurants or social media marketing. I just knew how to post stuff on Instagram. And I knew how to run Facebook ads, but I didn't know how to run good Facebook ads. And so, like, thank goodness, thinking back, that no one became my customer, because if somebody actually became my customer, I probably would have failed. And it wasn't really until recently when I realized the solution to this problem. You see, I went from a beginner teacher that was getting students into really like any university to now being a teacher with students that are getting into schools like Cambridge and Oxford and UCLA and like a bunch of other good schools. And that's when I realized that I had been teaching for 8 years. I'm a good teacher now. And I can say that because I walk the talk. Like, I have a very clear idea of what good teaching looks like and what good learning looks like. And the only reason I'm qualified to speak on education is because I've done it for 8 years. By the end of this school year, I would have taught over 6,000 classes. And so sometimes the solution to imposter syndrome is to just walk the talk, is to just do the thing, is to set an extraordinarily long time horizon for you to get good at that thing. And then you just do it. And one day you get good at it. And then the day you realize you're good at it is the day you can finally talk about it. And so that's why from 2018 to now 2024, I went silent. You should be okay with it taking a really long time because it's worth the wait. As long as you make progress, there's nothing to worry about. The only people that worry are the people that are trying to be someone they are not, and they are worried because they're afraid someone will see the truth of who they really are. And in that situation, they are a liar because they want to present to the outside world that they are somebody, but they know deep down on the inside that they are nobody. But that's okay, because if you walk the talk, you will eventually become somebody. And guess what? On that path towards becoming somebody, you can share how you're walking. And that's perfectly fine. So instead of faking it, just walk the talk. Go on the path to becoming the person you want to become. And recognize that it might take a really long time. And that's okay, because you got time. So stop worrying. Stop trying to do everything in 1 year, when in reality, if it's something you truly want, you should be okay with it taking 10, 15, 20 years to build your dream life. Like you're building your dream life. It's worth the time. The last tip that I want to share has to do with an emotional state. And there's emotional state where when you feel it, it drowns out all other negative emotions like worry. A student asked me the other day, and the student was like, hey, how fast does life go by? And I looked the student in the eye and I said, really fast. And you really only remember the moments. So make the moments count. And I realized a long time ago that when I'm a teacher in a classroom and an educator, my job isn't just to teach things. My job is to create memories that students can be thankful for when they think back onto their time in high school. I know when I think back onto my times in high school, I don't remember the stuff that I learned. I remember me running down the hall, pretending to be Gandalf and going in front of random people and being like, you shall not pass. I remember my Japanese teacher making me sing in front of the classroom. In fact, she made everyone do that. I remember the moments, and chances are you do too. And when you think about your life, if it's full of moments when you are thankful, then you would have realized that you actually had a pretty good life, and that there's no reason to worry, especially if you're able to put yourself in a constant state of thankfulness. My most grateful moments included when I first held my son in my arms, when I hugged my dad goodbye before I went on the plane to China. When I proposed to my wife and she said yes. Think about what moments in your life make you the most thankful. And I just want you to sit alone with those moments for a while. Just let those moments play in your mind again slowly and experience them in your mind again. And you'll realize that as you experience those moments, your mind no longer has room for worry. And if that is true, then in order to rid yourself of worry for good, all you need is to pursue or continue pursuing moments of thankfulness. And once you have enough of those moments, you'll realize that you're actually very content with where you're at in life, which does not conflict with ambition, but it does make you a happy person, which I can finally say that is who I am today. And that is also who I hope you are or will be. And finally, if you're able to get to a state where you're not worrying about life, then you're finally ready for self-improvement. So go ahead and watch this video right here where I talk about how I wasted 5 years trying to do self-improvement and how you don't have to waste the same 5 years I did.